Namaste children. Today we are going to see in Geography Chapter 2 Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife Resources. You have already read about the natural resources in the previous lesson. Land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife are important natural resources. They support human beings, animals and plants. Let us read more about these natural resources. Land covers about 29% of the total surface area of the earth. It is the most important gift of nature. Human beings meet most of their needs from it. All parts of the land surface are not useful nor habitable. The distribution of population is highly uneven. About 90% of the world's population occupies only 30% of the land area. The areas which have steep slopes, marshlands, deserts with extreme hot or cold climate and thick forest are generally uninhabited. In contrast, the plains and river valleys which have suitable climatic conditions and offer favorable factors for farming are densely populated. We use land for different purposes like cultivation, grazing, mining, setting up of industries, settlements, etc. Such land utilization is called land use. It depends upon various physical, economic and human factors. Some of these factors are relief, climate, soil, land tenure, technical know-how of the people and duration of any particular occupation carried out in a certain area. The interplay of these factors has developed many types of land use. The lifestyle of the people, the location of a place, and its accessibility with other regions also affect land use. It can also be modified by the construction of new roads and railways in a particular area. For an example, the construction of roads and railways led to the development of extensive cultivation of food crops. Land can be under private ownership or community ownership. Land use of private holdings is according to the need of the landowner. On the other hand, community land is mostly used to serve the purpose of the community like grazing cattle. Such community land is known as common property resources. Today, the vast changes in the land use pattern also reflect the cultural changes in our society. Land degradation, landslides, soil erosion, desertification are the major threats to the environment because of the expansion of agriculture and construction activities. We must make proper plans to use the land efficiently. This can be done through checking further spread of deserts, adopting scientific techniques, conserving soil and forest, providing irrigation facilities, increasing the use of manure and chemical fertilizers, afforestation and land reclamation, checking overgrazing. Soil is an important natural resource. It is the top covering of the Earth's surface. Soil is formed due to wear and tear of rocks by natural and human-made forces. The formation of soil is related to the parent rock material, relief, climatic conditions, natural vegetations, and animal and human activities. Fine vegetal and animal remains called humus add to the fertility of the soil. The importance of the soil lies in its fertility. Here we can see the composition of soil like air, water, mineral particles, organic matter, organisms, roots and humus and their percentage. Soil formation is a slow process. It takes thousands of years to form a very thin layer. Thickness of the soil is seldom more than 1 to 3 meters. Beyond this depth, rocks do not have the elements necessary for plants' growth. The right mix of minerals and organic matter make the soil fertile. Soil is formed under specific natural conditions. The quality of soil varies from place to place. Soil also differs in color, texture and fertility. The factors responsible for soil formation are parent rock material. Underlying rocks which contain minerals and make up the bulk of the soil are called the parent rocks. Parent rocks influence the color, texture, chemical properties, etc. Next, relief. The elevation and the nature of slope influence the rate of weathering and drainage of water. Thus, flat areas have a thicker layer of soil as compared to steep slopes. Next, climatic conditions. Climatic conditions, both direct and indirect influences on soil formation. Seasonal distribution of temperature and rainfall determine the type and effectiveness of weathering of rocks and humus formation. Next, flora, fauna and microorganisms. Plants and microorganisms help to convert young soil into mature soil. Dead plants provide humus which is consumed by other forms of life like bacteria. Humus gives a dark brown color to the soil. Last, time. A body of soil is considered mature if the soil forming processes have acted over a sufficient period of time and the soil has developed a distinct soil profile. Soil develops more quickly in humid regions than in the dry regions. A vertical section of soil from the surface to the parent rock is the soil profile. The process of soil formation gives rise to well-marked horizontal layer in the soil profile. These horizontal layers are called soil horizons. The soil horizons are usually named A, B, C and D from the uppermost layer of the soil to the parent rock below. Horizon A or topsoil is the topmost layer. It contains soluble minerals and organic material, that is humus, from decayed plants and animals. These are needed for the growth of plants. Leaching of soil is common in this layer. Second, horizon B or subsoil. The layer below the topsoil in which sand, silt and clay are found in horizon B. It is also called the subsoil. This layer has more mineral content than horizon A, but has very limited organic matter. Horizons A and B together form the true soil. Next, horizon C, that is rock fragments. Horizon C has small pieces of rocks. The true soil develops from these rock materials. These rocks are not affected by biological process. Next, horizon D, that is parent rock. Horizon D has unbroken solid rock material lying below horizon C. Soil degradation. Soil erosion and depletion are the major threats to soil as a resource. Both human and natural factors can lead to degradation of soil. Factors which lead to soil degradation are deforestation, overgrazing, overuse of chemical fertilizers or pesticides, rainwash, landslides and floods. Some methods of soil conservation are mulching. The bare ground between plants is covered with a layer of organic matter like straw. It helps to retain soil moisture. Counter barriers. Stones, grass, soil are used to build barriers along contours. Trenches are made in front of the barriers to collect water. Rock dam. Rocks are piled up to slow down the flow of water. This prevents gullies and further soil loss. Terrace forming. Broad flat steps or terrace are made on the steep slopes so that flat surfaces are available to grow crops. They reduce surface runoff and soil erosion. Intercropping. Different crops are grown in alternate rows and are sown at different times to protect the soil from rainwash. Contour plowing. Plowing parallel to the contours of a hill slope to form a natural barrier for water to flow down the slope. And last, shelter belts. In the coastal and dry regions, rows of trees are planted to check the wind movement to protect soil cover. Water is a vital renewable natural resource. Our planet is also called the watery planet or blue planet. The distribution of water on the earth is highly uneven. 97% of the volume of water on the earth is found in oceans and seas. 2% in the form of ice sheets in the polar regions and 1% in the form of fresh water. The two sources of fresh water available on the earth are the surface water in the form of rivers, streams and groundwater which is available through the seepage of water below the ground. Hence, the availability of fresh water on the earth is of great significance to man. Man uses water not only for drinking, cooking, washing, bathing, etc., but also for other activities like agriculture, industry, generation of hydroelectricity, navigation, etc. Rainfall is another important source of fresh water. Rainwater is continuously recycled in nature through evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Thus, the quantity of water is fixed on earth. The purity and quality of water is of primary concern to human beings as it is directly related to their domestic needs and economic activities. There are some factors affecting water usage. They are population, economic considerations, cost of water, climate, type of water usage, and system management. Water scarcity has become a serious problem in the world. Most of the countries of Africa, West Asia, Australia, Western USA, and parts of South America face water shortage. At present, the demand for fresh water has increased due to population growth. Now, we need more water to produce more food and cash crops to meet domestic needs and the rising standards of living. Water shortage is also caused by misuse, overexploitation, and contamination of water resources. The economic factors like the cost of supplying water to the dry regions also lead to shortage of fresh water. In some areas of Asia and Africa, women and children have to walk long distance to bring water to meet their domestic needs. The most important use of fresh water in our country is to irrigate the farmlands. India gets plenty of rainfall from the monsoons, but it is not evenly distributed. Some parts get flooded while others suffer from drought. To solve this problem, we need to divert water from the water surplus regions to water deficit regions. Most of our rivers passes through a number of states. No state can singly handle this problem of water management. To produce more food for our increasing population, we need adequate and timely supply of water. This can be done through irrigation. The different sources of irrigation are canals, wells, tube wells and tanks. In view of the present shortage of fresh water in many parts of the world, it has become necessary for us to conserve water and improve its quality. Some of the steps that can help us save water. They are: water is polluted by industries which discharge their waste products such as nitrates, metals and pesticides into water. This can be controlled by treating the impurities before releasing them into water bodies. Then, rainwater harvesting. It is an important method to save surface runoff. During rainy season, rainy water is collected and stored for use during dry periods. It is mostly practiced in arid and semi-arid areas. Sprinklers can be effectively used to irrigate the fields using less quantity of water. More trees should be planted as trees reduce surface runoff and recharge groundwater storage. Construct more dams to store water for domestic and agricultural purposes. Conservation of water resources is possible through planned utilization and protecting the available water resources from pollution. Natural vegetation refers to plant life that is found growing naturally in any region controlled by the climatic conditions of the region. Both natural vegetation and wildlife are vital for us because they perform many tasks which are critical to our existence. The plants which grow naturally are known as natural vegetation. The original natural vegetation of the earth has been modified by human beings. Nowadays, all types of plants, whether natural or modified, are included in natural vegetation. Natural vegetation and wildlife are found in the narrow zone where the lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere meet and interact. This narrow zone is called the biosphere. All organisms, whether they belong to the plant or animal kingdom, interact with each other. They are also interdependent on each other for their survival. The interaction between the organisms and their physical environment in a particular area is referred to as an ecosystem. Plants need air, water, sunlight and nutrients from the soil to grow. The growth of vegetation is mainly controlled by temperature and moisture. The availability of these essential requirements varies from place to place. Thus, we see a large variety of plants on the earth. Plants provide us with timber, give shelter to animals, produce oxygen we breathe, protect soil so essential for growing crops, act as shelter belts, help in storage of underground water, give us fruits, nuts, gum and medicinal plants. We can broadly classify the natural vegetation into forest, grassland, scrubs and tundra. The cluster of trees which grow close to each other are called forest. They grow in hot and humid climate. A true forest is one in which trees grow so close to one another that their canopies touch. Forests are not found in regions that are too hot or too cold. Forests are classified broadly into three major types. They are forest of the tropical region, forest of the temperate region and forest of the taiga region. Forest of the tropical region. The tropical forests have evergreen and deciduous trees. The evergreen trees are found in the equatorial region, while the deciduous trees are found in the monsoon region. This is because the equatorial region is hot and wet throughout the year, while the monsoon region has a distinct dry season. The equatorial forests have the largest variety of trees. The main tree found in the equatorial forest are ebony, mahogany, rosewood, rubber, etc. The number of tree species is less in the monsoon forest, but there is a dense undergrowth. The trees shed their leaves during the dry season. The main trees found in this forest are teak, sal, sandalwood and bamboo. In the temperate region, winters are mild and rainfall is moderate. The forests have trees, scrubs and bushes. There is a less undergrowth. Most of the trees are deciduous which shed their leaves during the autumn. The main trees found in these forests are oak, ash and pine. In many areas, forests have been cleared to make way for cultivation. The taiga forest belt extends between 50° north and 70° north latitudes. Coniferous forests are found in this belt. Coniferous trees are evergreen, tall and have straight trunks with needle-shaped leaves. Some deciduous trees like larch are also found here. The main trees found in the taiga region are larch, rosewood, etc. The location and extent of the grasslands depend on the total amount of rainfall and its seasonal distribution. As the amount of rainfall decreases, the forest cover becomes less dense and grasses grow between the scattered trees. The grasslands cover about half of the area of the world excluding Antarctica. The grasslands of the world are broadly classified into two major types. They are tropical grasslands and temperate grasslands. The tropical grasslands are found between the equatorial forest and the tropical deserts. These areas receive moderate rainfall during the summer season. Tall grasses grow in such areas and these grasslands are called the savanna. A major part of the savanna is now used for farming and livestock rearing. Some areas of these grasslands have become deserts due to poor land management. The temperate grasslands are found between 30° to 55° latitudes in both the hemispheres. These treeless grasslands are situated in the interior of the continents. These grasslands are found in the transitional zone between the humid coastal areas and the mid-latitude deserts. The height of the grasses depends upon the amount and distribution of rainfall. The temperate grasslands are known as pampas in the South America, steppes in Eurasia, vales in the South Africa, and downs in Australia. These grasslands are suitable for cattle rearing and large-scale cultivation of wheat and maize. Shrubs grow in areas of very high and low temperature and scanty rainfall. Thus, they are found either in hot deserts or in very cold regions like the tundra. Hot and dry deserts are found in the western parts of the tropical and subtropical regions. These areas experience very high temperature and very low rainfall. The vegetation of these areas has thorns, wax-coated leaves, thick and spongy stems and long roots. Cactus, thorny bushes are the main vegetation found in the deserts. Tundra vegetation is found in the high latitudes of the northern hemisphere, especially in Eurasia and North America, and in the high altitudes of mountains. During the short summer season, when the snow cover melts, mosses, lichens, and short grasses cover the ground. These are called meadows. Wildlife refers to the animals, birds, insects, worms, as well as aquatic animals. Animals also provide us with milk, meat, eggs, honey, fur, feather, hides and skins, etc. The dead remains of plants and animals get decomposed into humus, which make the soil fertile. Animals depend on plants for their growth and survival. Both plants and animals are interdependent. There is a relationship between plants, animals, and the physical environment, which is called the ecosystem. Survival of man depends on plants and animals. Hence, it is necessary for man to preserve the ecosystem. Thus, plants and animals are necessary for maintaining the ecological balance on Earth. The importance of natural vegetation has been realized and various measures have been adopted in different countries to stop its exploitation and destruction. Some of the initiatives taken, they are protecting the forest reserves, increasing the area under forest cover, discouraging the practice of shifting cultivation, protecting forest from the forest fires, planting adequate trees to make provisions for future needs, encouraging social forestry. Most of the wildlife can be protected by increasing awareness among the people. School children should be encouraged to participate in various conservation programs. In the last 100 years, human beings have become conscious of the plight of wildlife. Many countries have developed wildlife sanctuaries, national parks, and biosphere reserves to protect the natural vegetation and wildlife. Land, soil, water, natural vegetation and wildlife resources are the most essential to sustain life on Earth. These resources make life comfortable and facilitate a better quality of life. Land is present in three forms: mountains, plateaus and plains. Its conservation is essential. There are 6 types of soils in India. Water is present in two forms: fresh water, that is 2.7%, and sea water 97.3%. Many multipurpose projects have been constructed in India to utilize water resources. Proper utilization and conservation of these resources is extremely important. The vegetation types in the world are tropical evergreen forest, tropical monsoon forest, temperate evergreen forest, Mediterranean forest, temperate deciduous forest, temperate grasslands, coniferous forest, tropical grasslands, desert vegetation and tundra vegetation. There is a tremendous variety of natural vegetation and wildlife found across India. India has many bioreserves, wildlife sanctuaries and national parks to protect its wildlife. It is important to serve natural vegetation and wildlife as they are critical to our existence. With this glossary, we have been completed this chapter, that is in Geography, Chapter 2, Land, Soil, Water, Natural Vegetation and Wildlife. Thank you.